Hello. Uh, it's a good idea for us to separate ourselves from the Christian doctrine or Christianity, especially the falsehood and the fables, the fairy tales, the twisting and turning and spinning of scripture that's done in Christianity, and all the paganism and the pagan rituals and holidays and so forth and so on that's mixed in with Christianity. But with that said, we also have to be kind of careful not to separate ourselves too far because there is some truth in Christianity. It's not based on all falsehood. And so if we separate totally, we're going to leave truth behind. So we have to retain the truth. And if we try to get too far off, uh, track, then possibly we may find ourselves even into further heresy than even Christianity is. And so the foundation is Yahusha and salvation, okay, and obedience and love and truth, okay. And there's where we want to stay, okay. That's the centerpiece, uh, if you will, of our walk with Yahusha. And for that reason, I have a tendency to purposely kind of shine away or staying away from some of the more exotic stories and books that are related to scriptural stories and stuff like that, and other doctrines or beliefs or theories, ideology, whatever you want to call it. But, the serpent-seed, the two races, and Adam's first wife, Lilith, and there's two creation theory, the two creations found in Genesis, first and second Genesis, with the first one being pre-Adamic, you know. So it's, I don't recommend people to delve into these teachings, if you will, um, unless they have a sound foundation. Their foundation is solid rock. Okay, so you've built your house on a solid rock foundation, which is Yahusha. Okay, you've gone through the salvation plan. You've repented. You've been water immersed in the name of Yahusha. You have received the gift of the Ruach HaKodesh. You are well grounded in the covenant of love, and you're obeying your husband, staying obedient, and you've been running the race for a while. In other words, you're mature in your walk with Yahuwah. And then if you want to go out into these different arenas, so to speak, and study things like the Talmud or the Aramaic Targum, the Septuagint, which is from the Greek. The Targums are from the Aramaic interpretation, okay, of the TaNaK, is all that is. And then you have Yasher, Enoch, the Apocrypha, and all kinds of different stuff out there. But you have to keep your wits about you, and you have to stay focused on Yahusha and on your foundation, okay, which is Yahusha. And don't get out there and get so involved that you lose focus of Yahusha and your race of endurance, okay, which is keeping, obeying, or guarding the commands of Yahuwah and holding the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach. That's what it's all about right there. That's the race of endurance for the elect, for the bride. Okay? So don't, if you're not strong enough, you're not mature enough, then you shouldn't even listen to this video or anyone else that even speaks of these things. But for those that are capable and are willing to venture out beyond the norm, we'll say, stick around. It's kind of intriguing and interesting, really. But I just want to say that even for people that are mature, don't get lost. Don't get lost in this stuff. And the other reason that we're going to take a look at this is we're going to debunk a lot of this. But some of it, I will admit, is unexplainable, really. It's kind of intriguing in a way and mystic in a way. Kind of a mystery, because it does mention some of this stuff. Some of it we can easily explain, and understand if we just read it in context and assume responsibility for what it's really saying and and don't take it out and expand it, twist it, and turn it to mean something else and forget about all the rest of the context that we just read, So here in this video, we're going to focus on this serpent-seed race deal because it comes up a lot. It's been around for a long time. It's nothing new. It's been around at least for a couple hundred years for sure, probably before that, but we can really trace it back definitely a couple hundred years easily. So it's been around. It's nothing new, but I want to go over it because I think it's it seems to be causing some chaos and confusion and interference in the body among the believers, and some people, they're teeter-tottering back and forth with this thing, saying, well, it sounds like it, and this and that. So we're going to tackle it, and we'll take away as much truth about it as possible, and we're going to leave all the junk behind, okay? And then after the video, we're all going to return back to the solid rock, to our solid foundation, Yahusha. Okay? We're not going to stay out there and dwell on stuff that's not in the canonized scriptures. Okay? Let's just put it that way. Not saying that some of it's not true. I'm not saying that at all. So don't get upset if you're one of the believers in this serpent-seed deal. Okay, I'm just going to point out some facts, elaborate a little bit on some of this stuff, and we're going to try to figure out what's true and what's not. Okay, that's all we're going to do. And personally, I don't believe in it. I'll tell you that right off Jump Street. I don't think there's any scriptural truth to this, but I will admit that there are some parts of this that makes me scratch my head. Okay, and those mysterious parts are what most of these theorists that go around promoting this as scriptural fact are basing, their evidence on. So here we go. Let's get started on it. Probably one of the main verses that they use is really 1 John chapter 3, verse 12. And what they're doing here, if you're not familiar with it, what the whole thing is about is that when Adam and Kuah fell and they got run out of the garden, um, they had a child named Abel and Cain. Well, Cain supposedly was the first one born, right? And then Abel the second, and then Cain kills Abel. He's a murderer. And so what the way that this serpent-seed doctrine goes is that they were twins. And Eve's, the original sin was not disobedience, but it was sexual adultery or fornication with the serpent. And so Cain is the serpent's seed, okay, is the seed of the serpent, or the son of the devil, if you will, and Abel is from Adam. Some even go really nuts and say that Adam was the son of Yahuwah or Yahusha, okay, and so, and they go into the tree of life is a metaphor of Yahusha, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is a metaphor for Satan. And so Cain is Satan's kid and Abel is Yahusha's kid. I mean, it just gets crazy, okay? Depends on who you're talking to. So anyway, that's what they're saying. And then, of course, the serpent race is still among us today, and is usually in high positions. They run the world, because Satan's seed, and they're in the politics and the religion, and they run the beast, and they're in all the sports and the movie stars and the mainstream media and all this other stuff. Okay, so it just goes on and on and on like that. And there's also like pictures caught on camera type deal where they show people, and as they're talking, their eyes, do weird stuff, and then they have these serpent eyes, and the skin kind of hangs off a little bit in their mouth, their lips come down, but mostly it's in the eyes, cat eyes or serpent eyes, and then for a few seconds, and then they just kind of blink, and then it comes back to being human eyes, And so a lot of them will say, well, people will say, well, if that's true, if there, because of Genesis 6, where there was giants in those days, where messengers left their principalities and came down and bred with the daughters of men and created giants and so forth and so on. So they point to that as proof. And so then you say, well, if those people were annihilated during the flood, during the great flood of Noah. And of course, then they come back and say, yes, Noah was perfect in his generation, and his DNA was perfect, didn't have the serpent seed, and perhaps his wife and or his sons may have been perfect, but there's no proof of that either. But they point to Noah's sons' wives were of the serpent race. Okay, and so that's how the serpent race survived the flood. So anyways, this is what this is all about. Like I said, 1 John 3, they love to point to that. If you never heard of it, they go into it and they say, they quote that 3:12, 1 John 3:12, and they say Cain, who was of the evil one. It says that in there. So those who hold to the serpent seed doctrine take this to mean that Cain was literally fathered by the serpent or Satan, and let's read that out of the BYNV one time and see if it makes any sense, okay, what they're saying. There is a discrepancy in the serpent-seed theology, if you will, that the serpent was Satan, okay, the dragon, the serpent, the dragon, all points to is Satan, or some other of the opponents within the theology say that the serpent was an actual higher and intelligent animal that was made higher than the other animals. So they somehow was in between man, humans and the other animals. And some say he was made even smarter than man, which doesn't make any sense because Yahuwah put man over all the other creations, animals on the earth, right? So that makes no sense. And then some say it wasn't Satan; it was another messenger that was sent by Satan. So there's controversy there. We won't worry about that. But let's just get into the meat of this thing. And so it's 1 John 3:12. And so I'm going to back up and go to 3:4 so we can get a little better understanding of it if we read more in context. We're not going to have time to do a lot of reading here, but we'll hit on the finer points. But I think it's important to go to 3:4. 1 John 3, starting verse 4. And we'll read down to verse 15. This is out of the BYNV here now. Everyone doing sin also does lawlessness, and sin is lawlessness. Okay, so it's telling us that sin is lawlessness or disobedience to Yahuwah's commands, right? All right. And you know that he was manifested to take away our sins, and in him there is no sin. Everyone staying in him does not sin. Everyone sinning has neither seen him nor known him. Little children, let no one lead you astray. The one doing uprightness is upright, even as he is upright. The one doing sin is of the devil, because the devil has sinned from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of Yahuwah was manifested, to destroy the activity of the devil. Now, the one doing sin is of the devil. Does this mean that the devil came down and bred with women and that's his children running around? The one doing sin is of the devil? No. That just means you're like the devil. You have rebelled, and you have committed lawlessness, which is sin. It just means you're like the devil. Okay, so you're in that group with the devil, basically. Okay. Everyone having been born of Yahuwah does not sin, because his seed stays in him, and he is powerless to sin, because he has been born of Yahuwah. Now here's where they like to try to say, the seed of the devil and the seed of Yahuwah. This is where they're getting this stuff. They're twisting that. So everyone having been born of Yahuwah does not sin. Born of from above, through the water and the Spirit, as in John 3:5. That's what this is talking about. Does not sin. You can't sin because of who's in you. Your inner man can't sin. Your flesh is saturated in sin. The outer man and the inner man. We're of the flesh. We're still in this fleshly tent, which is saturated in sin and condemned to die and return to dust. But our inner man is being delivered and protected and sealed by the Ruach HaKodesh for the day of redemption, and our bodies will be resurrected and then transformed into immortality, and we'll receive new bodies. Okay? This is what this is talking about. Because his seed stays in him, his seed That is what that means. Is the Ruach HaKodesh. He's giving you a little bit of the Ruach in you to seal you for the day of redemption. He's planting that in you. Okay, when he comes in you and indwells in you, Yahushua's spirit. See what I'm saying? So after you get your immortal body, we're going to have the fullness of Yahuwah in us. He's not going to just be a little bit, because he's going to come in there and he's going to dwell us fully. Okay, fully. And he is powerless to sin because he has been born of Yahuwah. So you're powerless to sin because you've been born of Yahuwah. I mean, you're speaking of your inner being. So if Yahushua is in you and he's protecting your inner man, you know, your inner man cannot sin. It's powerless to sin. Only the flesh can sin. Okay. In this, the children of Yahuwah, the ones with the Ruach HaKodesh in them, and the children of the devil are manifested. See, since the children of Yahuwah and the children of the devil are manifested. And he told, when Yahushua told the Pharisees that their father was the father of lies, right? Did that mean that that he came down and bred with earthly women and they were his offspring? No, it's a metaphor. It's just metaphorically speaking. Okay, if you are lawless, disobedient, and you hate people, and you're a murderer, you know, all that kind of stuff, then you belong to the father of lies. You're the children of the devil because you're mimicking and you're doing what your father's doing. Okay, basically adopted father. It's adopted father. Okay, Yahuwah. And on the other hand, you're an adopted son of the light, right? So you've inherited everlasting life because you're considered the children of Yahuwah, right? Because you have the indwelling spirit of Yahusha in you. You've got that seed implanted in you, which is what's going to resurrect you from the dead because of the seed that's in you, the Ruach. Okay? This is spiritual. If you take this literally and you don't have the Ruach in you and you're interpreting this and teaching this literally, that's how they're getting confused. They're looking at it with the mind of the flesh. See that? In this, the children of Yahuwah and the children of the devil are manifest. Everyone not doing righteousness is not of Yahuwah, neither the one not loving his brother. See? So if you hate your brother, you're not doing righteousness means being obedient to his commands, right? If you're obedient to the commands, you're righteous. If you're lawless, you're unrighteous. Okay? So neither the one not loving his brother, hating his brother. That's the same thing as the devil does. So he's your adopted father of lies. You're over there in his camp. All right? Because this is the message that you heard from the beginning, that we should love one another. All right? So if the Ruach HaKodesh is in you, how can you not love one another? How can you not? You will. You know, if the Ruach's in you, the Ruach's in your brother, you're going to love your brother and he's going to love you because you have the same father. Brothers love each other. They may argue and fight and quarrel at times or disagree, but they still love each other. If you don't believe me, sit there and watch two brothers arguing and quarreling, and they don't know you, and you go in there and jump in the middle of it, start picking on one of them, see the other one jump in there and help him out. He still loves that brother. So, man. So anyway, here's the big verse, number 12, verse 12. Not as Cain, that we should love one another, not as Cain, who was of the wicked one, see, who was of the wicked one, and killed his brother. And why did he kill him? Because his works were wicked, but those of his brother were righteous. So there you go. This is what they're basing this whole thing on. They're saying that Cain was of the wicked one, this was from the serpent or Satan, and Abel was of righteous, was of Yahuwah. This is where they're twisting us and getting that from. And it don't mean that at all. It really don't mean that. The seeds, okay, the difference in this, what this is saying here, but that you shouldn't love one another, not as Cain, who was of the wicked one and killed his brother. And why did he kill him? Because his works was wicked, but those of his brother were righteous. His works, it says his works was wicked, okay, because he was doing things he wasn't supposed to do. He was being lawless. He was unrighteous. Where Abel was being obedient and in love with Yahuwah and being obedient and serving him. So his works was righteous. See what I'm saying? Don't forget, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, okay, that Adam and Kuah ate from, okay, had good and evil in it. Okay, so there's good and there's evil. There's light and there's darkness. There's obedience and there's disobedience. There's righteous and there's unrighteous. Okay, so the tree of knowledge of good and evil presented us with a choice. Okay, it presented us with a choice. If you choose to be evil, dark, disobedient, unrighteous, evil, wicked, stubborn, rebellious, then you're going to go over to the camp of Satan, because that's what he's doing. If you're going to be obedient, good, be light, be kind, and all that, you're going to go over into the camp of Yahuwah. And you're going to be under your adopted father, Yahuwah, right? And these ones here are under their adopted father, Satan. The separation of the sheep and the goats, okay? The two different camps, good and evil, light and darkness, obedient and disobedient, righteous and unrighteous. See that? Do not marvel, my brothers, if the world hates you. We know that we have passed out of death into life because we love the brothers. The one not loving his brother stays in death. Why? Because they don't have the Ruach HaKodesh in them. That's why. Everyone hating his brother is a murderer, and you know that no murderer has everlasting life staying in him. So there you go. So what we're finding out here is this is all metaphoric speaking. Basically, it's dividing the good from evil, just like the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Okay, they have the knowledge, so now they have a choice. Okay, it's Yahuwah and the devil's not running around mating with women, the daughters of men, and creating good seeds and bad seeds races. Okay, it's not happening, man. Come on. That's part of some of them say that. It's not true, man. So Cain, who was of the evil one, is their big go-to verse. All right. So those who hold to the serpent-seed doctrine take this to mean that Cain was literally fathered by Satan or the serpent. Jewish tradition extensively elaborated and underlined Cain's sinfulness belonged to the evil one. A murderer was a child of the devil. That was a figure of speech. For one of the devil's first works had been to bring death to Adam. Some later Jewish texts even claim that Cain's father was the devil himself. So this is some of the other stuff that they get their hands on to try to prove their theology. Okay. So a murder, well, if someone says you're a child of the devil, somebody murdered somebody because the devil's first works, had been bring death to, to Adam, because once he's and Chua, but once he talked them into disobeying Yahuwah, they basically were sentenced to death. So that's how he brought death to Adam, So does this mean that a murderer is a child of the devil, is labeled a child of the devil? Is he without hope? No, he is not. He is not. King David murdered one of his soldiers in order to get his wife. Did he not? Because he committed adultery with the man's wife. She got knocked up, got pregnant, so he had the guy killed purposely. That's murder. I think King David was probably forgiven and repented and was forgiven for that. What it sounds like to me. So I don't say where a murderer is got no hope, because he's of the seed of the devil. It goes against Scripture, and we're going to get into that a little bit farther, okay? And we'll see more about this. But anyways, that's the big one, that everybody wants to point to. And so I'm just going to have to kind of go through this a little bit faster than I really want to, because I don't want this to be real long topic here, discussion, but I think we need to get an understanding of this, because it's like I said, it's not a new theory, but it seems to be coming out of the woodwork more and more and more. So we're going to take a good look at it here, but it's going to be shorter than I wish it would be, but we'll still get the point here. So in the King James, okay, most serpent race people who promote that theology love the King James. They like to go straight to the King. I'll show it to you in the King James if you want. Okay, that's what you hear them say quite a bit, really. Of course, the Aramaic Targum, backs them up pretty good too. Okay, and again, Aramaic Targum. The Targum is the Aramaic interpretation of the TaNaK, just like the Septuagint is the Greek interpretation of the TaNaK. Okay, same thing. But anyway, in the King James Version, the first portion of Genesis 3:15 reads, "And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed." The serpent-seed doctrine takes the view that both seeds are literal, and there's thinking with the mind of the flesh, and attempts to show that Satan has a physical seed just as the woman does. But if we use some logic and common sense, this interpretation just completely falls apart. The Scriptures does not state that the enmity would be put between Satan's seed and Adam's seed, but between Satan's and the woman's. If Satan did in fact produce his seed through Eve or Kuah, then that seed would also be the seed of Kuah or Eve, the woman. So her seed would in fact be both Satan's and Adam's. This would make Yahuwah's statement be that Yahuwah would put enmity between her seed and her seed. Would it not? This makes a completely illogical argument that Yahuwah is putting enmity between her physical seed and her physical seed. That is not the distinction Yahuwah is making. Let's read it in the BYNV. Genesis 3:15. And I put enmity between you and the Asha, and between your seed and her seed. He shall crush your head, and you shall crush his heel. Okay? Now, I don't believe this is between two races. I believe this is speaking of his seed as in either metaphorically those who choose evil and those who choose good, because they have the knowledge of both, so they have that choice, or between the anti-Messiah, which would come later on, okay, it's prophetic, and Yahusha, who would come later on. And in the end, we know that Yahusha destroys the anti-Messiah, the false prophet, and at the end, even Ha-Shatan gets thrown into the lake of fire with them, right? So let's look at Genesis 4:1, okay? Keep that in mind, and let's look at Genesis 4:1, which teaches that Cain was Adam's son, not the devil's, but Adam, not the serpent, but Adam's son. Genesis 4:1. Now Adam knew Kuah his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, I have gotten a man with the help of Yahuwah. Okay, so let's read it out of the BYNV. And Adam knew his Asha, and she conceived and bore Cain, and said, I have gained a man from Yahuwah. Okay, so to me, this verse is the death of the serpent-seed doctrine, if you really think about it, because it clearly shows that Cain was the son of Adam and not the devil. Here, Kuah conceives when Adam knew Kuah, his wife. So here, the word knew is euphemism for sex. Okay, it's pertaining to sex. He knew her, So eating is not euphemism for sex. And she bared Cain. Cain then would seem to be the result of Adam knowing his wife, not from a sexual act with Satan. Kuah declares, I have gotten a man with the help of Yahuwah. Hardly the proclamation of someone who was pregnant with the child of the serpent or Satan. But those who hold to the serpent-seed doctrine still argue, and they would like to take us from there. From there, they usually take us to Genesis 5:3. And it says, when Adam had lived 130 years, he fathered a son in his own likeness, after his image, and named him Seth. Okay, and from this verse, they would argue in Genesis 5:3 says that Adam fathers a son in his own likeness after his image. Those phases are not used of Cain in Genesis 4:1. Therefore, Cain is not really the son of Adam, is what they're saying. If you go to Genesis 4:25, it debunks the Genesis 5:3 argument. That is the basis for Genesis 4:1's argument. Genesis 4:25 says, and Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son and called his name Seth. For she said, Yahuwah has appointed for me another offspring instead of Abel, for Cain killed him. We don't have this image language in Genesis 4:25, and we don't need it. Verse 25 connects back to verse 1. So Adam is the father of both Cain and Seth. And this language of Genesis 5:3 doesn't telegraph anything different. This view that Cain was the offspring of Satan focuses on some unusual things in the Hebrew text of Genesis 4:1 and a targum on this verse. And that's that Aramaic targum, okay? Now Adam knew Kuah, his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, I have gotten a man with the help of Yahuwah. The Hebrew at the end of Genesis 4:1 is kind of strange. Eve literally says, I have created a man, Yahuwah. Because of this literal translation, certain cults and sects have held the view that Yahuwah had a sexual relationship with Kuah. Well, as weird as that is, Yahuwah isn't Satan, so why would the serpent-seed people use this verse to substantiate their theory? That's kind of weird. So right now, before the word, okay, let's look at that. Right before the word Yahuwah is the two-letter particle, okay, or what they call the leaf in the ta, which usually marks a direct object or quote from Yahuwah. But it can also be a preposition. So it's, I have created a man, and then the direct object is Yahuwah. Scholars look at this and say, okay, we have to take the alif and tav here as a preposition, which would be, I have created a man with Yahuwah. With the help of Yahuwah. But the English word help here has no Hebrew equivalent in the verse. It's just, I have created a man with Yahuwah. If the alif and tav is taken as a predicative accusation, the sentence could be translated, I have acquired or created a man who is Yahuwah. Which could signify, if this is true, this could signify that Kuah may have believed she had given birth to the promised seed. When Yahushua quoted that in Genesis 3:15. Now that was actually Martin Luther's view as well. Maybe because of the difficulty of the Hebrew, or maybe because the translator was smoking something, we have a very strange translation of this verse in one of the Targums. Targums are Aramaic translations of the TaNaK. Targum Pseudo Jonathan has this reading for Genesis 4:1. It says, this is the Targum now. Adam knew his wife Kuah, who had conceived from Samuel, the angel of Yahuwah. Then from Adam, her husband, she bore his twin sister and Abel. Abel was a keeper of sheep, and Cain was a man tilling the earth. So that's Genesis 4:1 and 2 in Clark's edition of Targum, Pseudo Jonathan. Okay. The ESV says, now Adam knew Kuah, his wife, And she conceived and bore Cain, saying, I have gotten a man with the help of Yahuwah. So Chua's exclamation isn't even in the verse. The translator, or I should say the fabricator, just inserts his own words in the Targum, and this is not a translation at all. It's totally made up. Samuel is a sainted figure known from pseudepigraphical texts like the Ascension of Isaiah or the Martyrdom of Isaiah. Samuel is a sainted figure, and he is just inserted into the text. There's a complete absence in Genesis 4:1 or any other passage that Cain was fathered by Satan. The idea is just not present in the scriptures, the canonized scriptures. This is Isagenes presented to the world as a translation in Aramaic. This Targum is just one of the many ancient texts that have this idea of Cain being the serpent's offspring. We find this teaching in the Zohar, a Jewish mystical book that has alternate explanations of the scriptures. Much of it is done from a non-scriptural interpretation, but a mystical one. The Zohar is a Sansino translation. When they beget children, this is a quote of it. When they begat children, the firstborn was the son of the serpent's slime. For two beings had intercourse with Chua, and she conceived from both and bore two children. Each followed one of the male parents, and their spirits parted, one to this side and one to the other side, and similarly their characters. One of the Gnostic Gospels from the 3rd century, known as the Gospel of Philip, states, first adultery came into being, afterward murder, and he was begotten in adultery, for he was the child of the serpent. So he became a murderer, just like his father, and he killed his brother. Indeed, every act of sexual intercourse which has occurred between those unlike one another is idolatry. The serpent-seed idea appears with 3rd century Gnostics, and then in the 9th century book called Pirkei de Rabbi Elazar, who on Genesis 1, chapter 12 through 23, identifies the serpent with Samuel, who is an archangel in Talmudic writings, accuser, seducer, and destroyer, regarded as both good and evil. This teaching is not just wrong, it is destructive. It leads directly and logically to racism. Believing that certain races are irredeemable. The only possible outcome of such a worldwide view is prejudice and bigotry. The Aryan Nation's website states, we believe that there are literal children of Satan in the world today. These children are the descendants of Cain, who was the result of Chua's original sin, her physical seduction by Satan. Racism and bigotry are sin, and this serpent-seed teaching leads to both. Paul teaches that there is no difference between ethnic groups. In Galatians 3:28, Paul says there is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither slave nor free. There is no male and female, for you are all one in Yahushua HaMashiach. Uh, Paul also writes, when we are in Yahusha, there is neither Jew nor Greek. Paul makes this same point in Ephesians 2:13-16. But now in Yahusha Mashiach, you who once were far off have been brought near by the blood of Yahusha. For he himself is our peace, who has made us both one and has broken down in his flesh the dividing wall of hostility by abolishing the ordinances that he might create in himself one new man in place of the two, so making peace, and might reconcile us both to Yahuwah in one body through the stake, thereby destroying the hostility. In Yahusha, Jew and Gentile are one. Yahuwah has no respect of person. In Mashiach, all believers stand on the same ground. The reign of Yahuwah is described as people from every nation, from all tribes and peoples and languages. And read that in Revelations 7, 9, and 10. After this I looked, and behold, a great multitude that no one could number, from every nation, from all tribes and peoples and languages, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed in white robes, with palm branches in their hands, and crying out with a loud voice, Salvation belongs to Yahuwah, who sits on the throne, and to the Lamb. So, there's no split races, okay? If the ones that are in the camp of Satan, the adversary, they can repent and do the salvation plan and leave that camp and come over into the camp of the Father of Lights. Of course they can, and vice versa. You know, if the people that are in the camp of the Kodeshim start being disobedient and serving, evil, they're going to be scooted over there too. Okay? But everybody's the same. We're all made from one blood, from one race called the human race. So all who believe in Yahushua Mashiach are brothers and sisters in the body of Yahusha. It's a sad thing when people use the scriptures to support their sin of prejudice and bigotry. The serpent-seed doctrine is a sick, twisted teaching that distorts the word of Yahuwah, the word of truth. The devil's children are not a physical people that he bore with human women. They are those who do not believe in Mashiach or are disobedient and choose death and evil over life and good and light. No matter what race they are in, we're not of different races, folks. We're all of the human race. Okay? So, if we go over here and look at this verse right here, be 4:25, it says, And Adam knew his Asha again, and she bore a son and called his name Seth. For Elohim has appointed me another seed instead of Abel, because Cain had slain him. And to Sheath, to him also a son was born, and he called his name Anash. Then he began to call on the name of Yahuwah. So, yeah, you need to start calling on the name of Yahuwah. Okay? And anyone can call on the name of Yahuwah and be delivered. Okay, if half of the people or a certain portion of the people were of the seed of Satan, how is it they can call on the Yahuwah and be delivered? Wouldn't they be automatically condemned along with the father of lies if they were of his seed, like the anti-Messiah is going to be? It makes no sense. If you go over here, Genesis 4, 3, it says, and it came to be in the course of time that Cain brought an offering of the fruit of the ground to Yahuwah. And Abel also brought of the firstborn of his flock and of their fat. And Yahuwah looked to Abel and his offering, but he did not look to Cain and his offering. And Cain was very wroth, and his face fell. And Yahuwah said to Cain, why are you wroth? And why is your face fallen? If you do well, is there not acceptance? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door, and its desire is for you, but you should master it. So there you go. Yahuwah just told him, if you do well, if you stay in obedience, then he's going to be recognized, So why would he be talking to him if he was the serpent's or Satan's son or seed? That's automatically condemned because he's the seed of Satan. It makes no sense at all, really. I mean, if Cain was the son of the devil or Satan, then why wouldn't he be worshiping and making a sacrifice to his father, the father of lies? See what I mean? Instead, he's doing it to Yahuwah, which is his father. You see that? It makes no sense right there. But he did not look to Cain and his offering, and Cain was very wroth, and his face fell. And Yahuwah said to Cain, why are you wroth? And why is your face fallen? If you do well, is there not acceptance? So if you do well, if you're obedient to me, will I not accept you? This is like he would anybody. Anybody that's choosing evil, darkness, and death over light, goodness, and life, okay, can convert. They don't have to stay in the camp of Satan. They're not his seed. Okay, they're just choosing evil and darkness over good and light. Life and death, choice. It's a choice between life and death. That's all that's saying, man. That's it. People are making that out to be something it's not. Okay, based on racism and bigotry, really. Because they say, the ones that believe in that theory, that if the ones that are of the seed of Satan, okay, are coming down through Cain's line, are basically condemned. They're like, they're irredeemable. They have no chance of salvation. And it's not true for several reasons. Number one, we're all of one blood. We were made from one blood, okay? From one blood, one flesh, one creator, okay? So we're the human race. We're not two different races, right? Like they're saying we are. And we all know that we all have sinned. We all fall short of the esteem of Yahuwah. So all of us are in that death camp with Satan, okay? But when we turn back to Yahuwah and obey him and repent, be watery, immerse in the name of Yahusha, receive the gift of Ruach HaKodesh, and endure the race of obedience, stay obedient to the covenant, we become sons of the light. We come out of the death camp over into the life camp. Okay? So there you go. Appreciate it. Thank you for watching. I wish we could have went on, but I don't want to make this video that long. But I think we've hit a lot of the main points here and got a good understanding of this. So thank you for watching. And remember, to stay in love with Yahusha. Bonus feature time. Okay, so what about the Vatican? You know, the Pope and all the celebrities that are caught on camera, and their eyes seem to flash to up and down, turn into like a serpent eye or a cat eye, and then back into a human eye. If you've never seen that on camera live, then you probably will say, well, that's just photoshopping, you know, or it's some kind of glimpse in the film or the camera or the lighting that's causing that. You know, I mean, there's a million things they could say to cover it up, but I have personally seen different people on television speaking live to the camera, and their eyes turn into serpent-looking eyes, real weird, and then flash back into normal-looking eyeballs. I've seen that. So that is a phenomena. It really does happen. Whatever's making it happen, who knows? But I've seen it myself. And then the Vatican is really weird because the Vatican itself is designed as a serpent. It comes in real long. It turns into a round head and a mouth like a viper head, long body, and then out of the mouth, it's like a tongue. The tongue's coming out. If you're looking at an overhead shot or an overview from a plane or helicopter of the Vatican, it looks like a serpent with his tongue sticking out, with nose, nostrils, and eyes, the whole 9 yards. I put a pictorial in here showing an overview of the Vatican, of the head, the neck, and the head, and the tongue. But you can Google that yourself and do an air view of the Vatican and check it out. It looks just like a serpent. They have a serpent spiral staircase. The auditorium or the cathedral that the Pope speaks from is a snakehead serpent reptile, obvious. I'll put pictures of that below too in the pictorial. You can see that. The throne, it has fangs, a mouth, eyes. You can see the reptile skin, the scales. It's amazing, really. But the Pope sits on a throne. It's called the throne of Satan, and it has a serpent head on it, and a man, half serpent. And then, of course, they like to go around doing their OK signal on their eyeball, which some say the OK signal is 666. And when they throw it up on their eyeballs with one hand or two hands circling their eyes, you know, that's indicating the serpent race. Okay. So we do have all this crazy, phenomenal stuff going on, and it does make you wonder why. You know, but the thing of it is, folks, is this is the kind of stuff that makes you scratch your head, you know, and say, wow, is there really something to this, you know? But once you really sit back and take a harder look at it, you realize that there are people who have chosen evil. We have a choice between life and death. Good and evil, right? Obedience and disobedience. And so we have this choice because we, Chua and Adam ate off the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. All right, so we all have to make this choice. So these people that are doing all this stuff with the serpents and all this have made the choice to follow evil or death. You know, if you hate Yahusha, you love death. Because Yahusha is life, and life more abundantly, right? So they've made their choice to follow after evil and death, and to serve death, sin and death. And that's why they're doing all this weird stuff. It's not that they're from a serpent seed or Satan's seed. It's just that's the choice they made So they're following up on it, and they're making the best out of it by going around, sneaking around, pretending like they're doing stuff that nobody knows what they're doing, and laughing in your face when they flash all these hand signs, and they build these buildings and temples to Satan, in the form of a serpent and stuff like that. Yeah, it's evil, it's paganism, it's Satan worship in plain sight. That's all. Straight up, they put it right in your face. They don't care because they know they're choosing death, so they'd rather have fame, fortune, and friends or whatever, power, possessions over life, eternal life, and serving Yahuwah. That's the choice they've made. So they're promoting it. That's what's going on there. They're just promoting the lifestyle that they've chosen, which is sin and death, darkness, evil, disobedience, unrighteousness. So they're serving the father of lies. They're in the camp of the father of lies, and the camp of death, the death camp. Okay? They're in the death camp as we speak. Can they come out of it? Absolutely, they can. You just have to repent. How about the ones with the flashy eyes and all that? Maybe it is some kind of camera flaw in the camera, or a glimpse in the camera, or the lights or something. Who knows? That's making it look like that. It can't be the film because it's live. I've seen it done live myself, watching it live, not just somebody say, "No, look what happened." I was actually watching the event live and seen it myself, so I know it happens. Some of you may have also. Maybe some of you have not. So what is that? Well, it could be some kind of weird flaw in the camera lens, or the lighting, or whatever, like they claim it is, because they've been asked about it, and that's what they say. It's always, oh, it's just the camera acting up, or the lights flashed on and off and made it look like that, or they always say kind of stuff like that. And another thing it could be is demon possession. You could have a demon in them doing that, Maybe you're seeing that demon. He's exposed himself for a split second, Who knows? Could be demon possession, right? Possible, I guess. I don't know if a demon possessed person, their eyes get all weird like that, or what happens, but I know that bad things happen to the body when it's demon possessed, just by events in the scriptures, right? People get naked, they start cutting themselves, bleeding all over the place, hollering all night long, hiding out in tombs and graveyards, hurting themselves, hurting other people, who knows? Filing their teeth, making them real sharp, who knows what they're doing. But anyway, it could be demon possession too, So I put some pictures here. That'll follow, and take a look at them, see what you think they are. Do some more research yourself. But this is what I believe this is all about. They are promoting their choice, which is darkness and evil, and disobedience and unrighteousness. They're following the devil, which is known as the serpent. Okay, in Scripture, he's known as a serpent, a dragon, a beast or whatever. And so they take that and they run with it, and to promote their decision to follow after sin and death and darkness and evil, right? Because they have that choice. And the other deal could be camera, lighting, flaws, could be demon possession. Alrighty, so check out the pictures, see what you think. Bonus feature 2 time. Okay, so we've done figured out that there is an evil and a good choice, right? Life and death, because of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So we have a choice. So what about this alumni type group that goes around flashing the OK sign, putting it up on their eyeball and everything, and then all of a sudden these people show up with black eyes on their left eyeball? Are they in some kind of weird cult or Illuminati uh, type secret society or organization? Probably. And again, this doesn't mean that they're the serpent-seed race, okay, Satan's children. Okay, this just means that they've chosen death. You know, they've chosen evil over good, and they're following the father of lies. So they're playing and dabbling in black magic, voodoo, Satanism, Noatic laws. They're given power by the beast, Satan, who's the author of it. And so they're paying homage and worshiping him, and they got their little cults going on and their little secret societies. So I guess they reach a certain level or something, possibly. They punch each other in the eye or whatever they do in the left eye, and they have a black eye, part of their rituals. It's just ritual. Okay, so again, it's not because they're serpent seed, they're the children of the devil. It's because they're choosing evil. They're choosing death over life and evil over good. Okay, that's why they're just playing their little games. You know, their little in their little societies and their little cliques, whatever you want to call it, and they're just having a blast. You know, if that's what they've chosen. Can these people be delivered? Absolutely. We're all of one race, one blood, one flesh, one creator, one deliverer, one Torah, one judge. Yeah, they can be delivered. All they need to do is repent. Okay, repent. Can they be demon possessed? Of course they can. So, anyway, they're not irredeemable, folks. They're just lost, and they've chosen to dwell in the camp of darkness, you know, the death camps. But they can come out of it. They can come out of it. Thank you for watching again, and enjoy the pictures of the black eyes. See what you think about it. Bonus feature time number 3. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the pictures of the black eyes. Like I said, I think that's just one of their rituals. It's something or other going on there in that lumini. I don't know what's going on with those people, and I don't really care to know, but it's obvious that something is on that left eye. So anyway, let's take a look at the curse of the serpent and who that serpent is, and see if we can make any heads or tails out of the curse of the serpent. Okay, and so we'll talk about it here a little bit, and then we're going to compare Genesis 3:14 and 15 to Isaiah 14. Okay, so let's take a look at it real quick. It says the curse of the serpent. Okay, another essential aspect of understanding the identity and nature of the serpent in Genesis 3 is to consider the curse placed on it by Yahuwah himself. Several important aspects of the curse present the serpent as more than an animal. Yahuwah's judgment, which is expressed in the metaphorical declaration that the serpent will crawl on its belly eating dust, communicates a perpetual humiliation. This humiliation will culminate in the serpent's final defeat by a descendant of the woman. The pronouncement of a final blow to the serpent's head further reveals that it will personally be involved in the final defeat, thus revealing the serpent will constantly be part of the ongoing conflict and will personally suffer the final blow. Additionally, the serpent is cursed for using its unusual ability to speak to convince the woman to doubt Yahuwah's character. Interestingly, in his pronouncement of judgment, Yahuwah speaks directly to the serpent. Since the creation narrative gives no indication that animals were created with the ability to either communicate with humans or comprehend the words of Yahuwah, it is illogical to think that Yahuwah would speak to a creature that did not have the ability to comprehend speech. A serpent who can both speak and is spoken to by Yahuwah is no mere animal, folks. Some people believe the animals were made to speak in the garden, okay? And that's not scriptural. You can't find it anywhere. So we're just going to go with that animals were made to be ruled under man, and a lesser animal or lesser creation than man was. Okay, man was given the ability to speak, as is Yahuwah and the messengers, and then man, humans, and then it stops. Can't find anything in scripture that says other than that. When formulating a conclusion to the identity of the serpent, the traditionally liberal approach to Genesis does not give enough consideration to these aspects of the judgment of the serpent. In his analysis of Genesis 3, a man named Murison concludes that the text provides no trace of the serpent being anything other than an animal. He emphatically states, a serpent tempts, a serpent is punished. This conclusion ignores both the natural and the cures of the serpent and hinders the quest to identify the true nature of Eden's serpent. If this man is correct, then the punishment or curse imposed upon the serpent should not be given much credence. On the contrary, the curse reveals a great deal more than this alleged animal's character and nature and deceit. According to Page, the curse of the serpent, as well as its unnamed offspring, reveals at least a rudimentary knowledge of a realm of evil forces under the leadership of the deceiver or tempter. Though Satan is not mentioned in Genesis 3, the portrayal of the serpent and the subsequent curse both point to something much more than an animal at work in deceiving the human woman. Okay, so let's get a look at that in Scripture and see what we make heads or tails of this. In other words, some people are saying the serpent was nothing more than a serpent, okay, that could speak in the garden at first, in the beginning. And then others say, no, that's just metaphoric. It's a figure. They're using the serpent to represent Satan or another messenger that was sent there representing Satan or doing Satan's bidding, okay? It's because you ever hear somebody call somebody a snake? Like, man, that person, man, he's a snake, you know, because they do evil things behind your back. They're tricky, their trickery and their betrayal and deceit. You know, they're known for it, so people call them snakes. Watch out for a snake in the grass type deal. You know, this could be similar, you know, but I'm not saying that's exactly it. I'm just saying that's similar to what I think's going on here. So let's go ahead and research Scripture a little bit, and then we'll see if we can find out more through the Scriptures. Let's go to Genesis 3 real quick. And the serpent, so this was definitely called the serpent. A serpent can be a snake. It can be a lizard. It can be a dragon, you know. It can be something like that, a scaly animal, right? Real creepy like. And the serpent was more crafty than any beast of the field which Yahuwah had made. And he said to the woman, is it true that Yahuwah has said, do not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, we are to eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Yahuwah has said, do not eat of it, nor touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said to the woman, you shall certainly not die. For Yahuwah knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be like Yahuwah, knowing good and evil. And this is interesting because they were already like Yahuwah, were they not? They were full of love. They were full of goodness, righteousness, light. Okay, they were already like Yahuwah. So this, what the devil was doing, or the serpent, is he was tricking them into saying that you will be like Yahuwah, but what he was really meaning was you'll be like me, knowing evil and darkness and death. See what I mean? Because the lake of fire was made for him. So he twisted it and told them that they would be like Yahuwah, knowing good and evil. But really he tricked them. You know, it was a trick, a deceit, beguile. Okay? Because what really happened was when they ate that forbidden fruit was they wouldn't be like Yahuwah. They already were like Yahuwah. But they would become like the serpent. Evil and dark and death and sinner, unrighteous. See that? Tricked them. Beguiled them. And the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes. So it looked okay. I don't know, she's looking at it, probably ain't nothing wrong. It looks pretty good to eat. And a tree desirable to make one wise. And she took of its fruit and ate. And she also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. So see, this is plainly about eating a forbidden fruit that was hanging on this tree. It wasn't about having sex with that serpent. If it means that she ate, that she took of it and ate of this the tree, the forbidden fruit means that she had sex with a serpent, then you have to say that Adam had sex with the serpent too, because he ate too. See, so that makes 0 sense, man. 0. And she also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. So it has to be about eating a fruit, not having sexual intercourse. Then the eyes of both of them, speaking of Adam and Kuah, were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made loin coverings for themselves. So there you go. It has to be talking about food. Okay? Now let's jump up here, and we're going to compare Genesis 3, 14 and 15 to Isaiah 14, chapter 14, okay? So starting in verse 13, it says, And Yahuwah said to the woman, What is this? Let's back up here. Let's go up to 12. Let's go to 12, 3:12, Genesis. And the man said, okay, I'm going to back down here so we can get this in context. I don't want this blown out of context. So let's back down here and say to 8, 3:8. And they heard the sound of Yahuwah walking about in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his woman hid themselves from the presence of Yahuwah among the trees of the garden. So here Yahuwah was walking around with them and talking to them, right? So he was down in the garden walking around. And Yahuwah called unto Adam and said to him, Where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid myself. And he said, Who made you know that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree of which I commanded you that you should not eat? So there you go again. It's talking about eating. And the man said, The woman who you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate. Okay. There's no way that means he had sex with the serpent. There's no way, man. This is talking about eating the forbidden fruit they were commanded not to eat. It's disobedience, not adultery with a serpent. Was not the original sin. It was disobedience. Okay. Do you notice here, most people recognize the fact that Adam is blaming his disobedience on the woman. It's pretty obvious. But if you really consider it, he's also blaming Yahuwah. He's blaming Yahuwah and the woman for his disobedience. Is he not? He is. The woman whom you gave me, so he's blaming it on you. You gave her to me. It's your fault. See that? So he's blaming the woman and Yahuwah for his disobedience. The woman who you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate. So he's blaming Yahuwah and Kuah for what happened to him. He's not taking responsibility for his own actions. And Yahuwah said to the woman, What is this you have done? And the woman said, The serpent deceived me, and I ate. So the serpent beguiled or deceived or tricked. Okay, not raped, not had sex, not anything like that. Beguile does not mean rape or have sex. The serpent deceived me, and I ate. Okay, there's no suggestion of sex here, people. That's ridiculous. So now the woman's blaming her disobedience on the serpent. And Yahuwah said to the serpent, now he's going to talk to the serpent. The serpent has to have some level of intelligence here. Can't just be a snake, because Yahuwah is able to speak to him, and he's able to hear him and comprehend the language Yahuwah was talking to him in. So Yahuwah said to the serpent, because you have done this, you are cursed more than all the livestock and more than every beast of the field. On your belly you are to go and eat dust all the days of your life. Now, this is prophetic and metaphoric and spiritual. I want you to remember this verse here, okay? Verse 14, and we're going to, when we get over there to Isaiah 14, you just remember that verse, okay? So does this mean that he took this serpent and he's cursed above all livestock and more than any beast of the field because they're lower than man? So he's going to make this serpent lower even than man. Right now, the serpent was probably higher than man, especially if it was Satan or a messenger. They're made a little bit higher, right? Where humans are made a little bit lower than the messengers. But he's going to take this serpent and make him lower than every creature that he made. He said, matter of fact, you're going to go on your belly and crawl around in the dust, right? You're going to be low down beneath the feet of men. You're going to be so low. See that? So this is a prophetic curse. Okay, this didn't happen immediately. Listen, now pay attention here. On your belly you are to go and eat dust all the days of your life. And I put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall crush your head, and you shall crush his heel. All right. So there you go. That's what happened to, that's the curse of the serpent. Okay? All the days of his life, he's going to be on his belly eating dust. Okay? That's what's happening. If it's Satan, he's not doing that yet. Okay? So it has to be prophetic. If it was just a mere animal, a serpent, okay, a mere animal with it, that he had intelligence and was able to speak, then he was turned into a snake, if you will, or his legs were taken away or whatever, and then he has to crawl around on his belly all the days of his life until he died, you know. Then what's up with that? The curse is over, other than his seed, which would be a bunch of other reptile snakes running around, right? Biting us on our feet and ankles and stuff, and legs and hands and stuff, and then we see them, we kill a snake, right? Most people are terrified of snakes. So this is, why they've taken it literally to mean something that it is really not meaning, okay? It's in the mind of the flesh. It appears that this was a different creature than a snake, and he was transformed into a snake and had to crawl around on his belly. Took away his legs and arms and ability to walk around off of his belly. He had to crawl on his belly, So literally, that's what you're going to get out of that. But spiritually or metaphorically, no. Okay, this is something that's going to happen into the future. It's prophetic. Okay, it's a curse, prophetic curse. Okay, so we know that the serpent was intelligent for sure. Okay, we know that he could speak and he could hear. Yahuwah spoke to him, so he was coherent and able to understand language. So that much we know, right? So let's take that and compare it over here to Isaiah chapter 14. See if it gives us any further insight. So Isaiah chapter 14, verse 1, because Yahuwah has compassion on Jacob and shall again choose Israel and give them rest in their own land. And the stranger shall join them, and they shall cling to the house of Jacob. And people shall take them and bring them to their own place. And the house of Israel shall possess them for servants and female servants in the land of Yahuwah. And they shall make captives of their captors and rule over their oppressors. Okay, so this is prophetic. This is talking out into the future, right? Because the children of Israel will be restored, and the ones that are not his chosen, elect, his body, his bride, will serve those who are the body or the elect or the bride. So this is future. This is into the future. Maybe during the millennium reign, perhaps, or even beyond that. And it shall be in the day Yahuwah gives you rest from your sorrow and from your trouble and the hand service in which you were made to serve, that you shall take up this proverb against the sovereign of Babel and say, how the oppressor has ceased, the gold gatherer ceased. Yahuwah has broken the staff of the wrong, the scepter of the rulers, he who smote the people in wrath with ceaseless blows. Now listen here real closely. He who ruled the Gentiles in displeasure is persecuted, and no one restrains. All right. Now, this is speaking of the serpent, okay, or Satan. All right, so pay attention to this now. I mean, I don't want to lead you into something, you don't want to believe, but going back to Genesis 3:14 and 15, where the serpent is going to crawl and become crawling around on the dust and become dust, right? He's going to eat the dust. He's going to eat the dust. So listen to this. He who smote the people in wrath with ceaseless blows, that's Satan. He who ruled the Gentiles in displeasure, that's Satan, is persecuted and no one restrains. All the earth is at rest. This must be through the millennium reign period we're talking here. Sounds like. And at peace, they shall break forth into singing. So this may be where Satan is grabbed and thrown into the abyss, right, and chained and for 1,000 years. So he's not bothering man anymore, right? The serpent's not bothering us anymore. The people are at rest and at peace. They shall break forth into singing. Even the cypress trees rejoice over you, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, since you were cut down, no woodcutter has come up against us. So since Satan was cast down and strained, right, put in shackles or whatever he is, bound up, nobody's going into the woods and carving images and statues to bow down to and worship anymore. So the trees, the cypress and the cedar, say, since you were cut down, no woodcutter has come up against us. So they don't like being worshipped. You think them trees and rocks and stones like you to go out there and chop them down and make images out of them and bow down to them? Of course not, because they got cursed for it. Okay, they're being cursed because of what we do. We're worshiping them. They're going to be destroyed. I mean, that's crazy. The grave, for these they get 1,000 years of rest, though, don't they? The creation, the trees and stones. The grave from beneath is excited about you. Oh, this is speaking of the serpent now. The grave from beneath is excited about you, to meet you at your coming. It stirs up the dead for you, all the chief ones of the earth. It has raised up from their thrones all the sovereigns of the Gentiles. All of them respond and say to you, Have you also become as weak as we? Have you become like us? Dust. See that? This is the dead. The grave, speaking to Satan and the people. All the kings are in the grave. Okay? Gathered up, raised up from their thrones. All the sovereigns of the Gentiles, all of them respond and say to you, speaking to Satan or the serpent, have you also become as weak as we? Become dust. Flesh maybe, huh? See Satan going to be turned into flesh? Have you become like us? Have you become like us? Flesh and dust, made of dust? Your arrogance has been brought down to the grave, and the sound of your stringed instruments, the maggot is spread under you, and the worm covers you. How have you fallen from the Shemayim? Hael, son of the morning. Hael, ben Shaker. That's Satan, man. So it's talking about Satan here. Have you been cut down to the ground? You who laid low the Gentiles? Have you been cut down to the ground, to the dust on your belly? See? Return to dust. Maybe you turned into a man and returned to dust and went into the grave during the millennium reign. Possibility here now. For you have said in your heart, let me go up into the Shemayim, let me raise my throne above the stars of all, and let me sit in the mount of meeting on the sides of the north. North means evil, toward the evil camp, the death camp, evil. Let me go up above the heights of the clouds. Let me be like the Most High. Who's saying that? We know that's Satan saying all this is about Satan, man. It's about the serpent. But you are brought down to the grave, to the sides of the pit. Those who see you stare at you and ponder over you, saying, is this the man who made the earth tremble, who shook rains, who made the world as a wilderness and destroyed its cities, who would not open the house of his prisoners? All the sovereigns of the Gentiles, all of them were laid in esteem, every one in his own house. But you have been thrown from your grave like an abominable branch, like the garment of those who were slain, thrust through with the sword, who go down to the stones of the pit like a trampled corpse. You are not joined with them in burial, for you have destroyed your land and slain your people. Let the seed of evildoers never be mentioned. Let the seed of evildoers never be mentioned. Prepare the children for slaughter because of the crookedness of their fathers. Not father, fathers, plural. Lest they rise up and possess the land and fill the face of the world with cities. And I shall rise up against them, declares Yahuwah Sabaoth, and shall cut off from Babel the name and remnant and offspring and descendant, declares Yahuwah. And I shall make it a possession for the porcupine in marshes of muddy water, and shall sweep it with the broom of destruction, declares Yahuwah Sabaoth. Yahuwah Sabaoth has sworn, saying, truly as I have planned, so shall it be, and as I have purposed, so it stands. To break Asher in my land, and tread him down on my mountains. And his yoke shall be removed from them, and his burden removed from their shoulders. This is the counsel that is counseled for all the earth, And this is the hand that is stretched out over all the nations. For Yahuwah of hosts has counseled, and who annuls it? And his hand that is stretched out, who turns it back? This is the message which came to in the year that sovereign Achaz died. Do not rejoice, all you of Philistia, that the rod that smote you is broken. For out of the serpent's roots comes forth an adder, and its offspring is a fiery flying serpent. Wow, huh? Wow. Let's read that again. Do not rejoice, all you of Philistine, that the rod that smote you is broken. For out of the serpent's roots comes forth an adder, and its offspring is a fiery flying serpent. And the firstborn of the poor shall feed, and the needy lie down in safety. And I shall kill your roots with scarcity of food, and it shall slay your remnant. Howl, howl, O gate, cry, O city, melt away, all you of Philistine, for smoke shall come from the north, and there is no stranger in his ranks. And what does one answer the messengers of a nation? That Yahuwah has founded Zion, and the poor of his people take refuge in it. Wow, that's amazing stuff right there. So as you can see, there's some kind of a correlation paralleling Genesis 3:14 and 15 in Isaiah chapter 14. So I think that the prophecy of the is that the is speaking of not only the Satan, but the anti-Messiah. They're toward the end of chapter 14. And it's really strange because it sounds like the serpent, okay, if you will, is going to be cast down into the dust and be as a man, in the likeness of a man, and then be thrown into the grave. Okay, so it's a possibility that Satan's going to get a taste of his own medicine, right? Because he's a murderer. So I'm not saying that's what it's saying. It just seems like it's saying that Satan's going to be turned into flesh, and he's going to die and return and go into the dust, into the grave, okay? And so he knows what it feels like to be in Sheol, because he caused that, cursed that men, caused men. He was a murderer from the beginning, caused men to have to die. So he's going to get a taste of his own medicine, and then perhaps that maybe that's what he'll be during the millennium reign, maybe, And then it sounds like after that, then he'll come out and gather his army and come down from the north, attack the Kadeshim and the camp of the Kadeshim and Yahusha, and Yahuwah's going to see it, and he's not going to have any more to do with it, and he's going to just take and throw him into the lake of fire, annihilate him. That's what it sounds like, Yeah, but there's very interesting verses there, especially about the flying, fiery red dragon, that, people, use that as pointing out to the, talking about the serpent race or seed, read it yourself and see what you think. But that about wraps it up. Very interesting, but like I said in the beginning, I don't go along with that theology at all. I just wanted to talk about it, present both sides of the theory or argument, whatever you want to call it, a little bit, and the main thing is for everybody just, if mature believers, if you're interested, to study it yourself, and see what you think. Come up with your own conclusion, and let the Ruach lead you in to wherever he leads you, But for me, this just doesn't add up. I think it's just, like I said, we're all one race, one flesh. There's one creator, one deliverer, and Satan is the serpent or the dragon. And he's going to be in big trouble for sure at the end. And along with all those who dwell in his death camp. Okay? But they're not, everybody isn't lost until the end. I mean, if they go to sleep or die, and then they don't accept Yahusha as their deliverer, and they don't get immersed with water and the Spirit and endure and be obedient to Yahuwah, who knows, where they're going to end up. It's up to Yahuwah. That's all Yahuwah's business. Yahuwah can have compassion on whom he has compassion, and favor upon whom he has favor, and it's all up to him, really, So anyway, I hope that helps a little bit, and like I said, please, if you're not real mature in your walk yet, don't go farther into this. Stay away from the Targum and the Talmud and the Septuagint, and Septuagint maybe not too bad, but it's in Greek. You're probably gonna understand it anyway. Asher, Enoch, the Apocrypha, all that other stuff. Just avoid it until you get a really good rooted belief, and you're in a deep, loving, trustworthy relationship, and you're obedient to Yahuwah. And if you want to go off and read some of that other stuff, you can, but like I said, only take the truth from it, leave the rest behind, and return home, back to the rock. Okay? Return back to the rock, which is Yahusha. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you for watching, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree with what I just said in this whole video, and that's your prerogative, but my hopes is that even if you disagree, that you stay focused, okay, and on Yahusha, on the rock, okay, and don't stay out there, because a lot of times Satan and his demons and the ones that are following him are just trying to pull you away from the rock. They're trying to get you out into the quicksand in hopes of you losing your salvation. You get sunk down into that quicksand deep enough, and you're going to get stuck. Okay? So, come back to Yahusha. Don't stay out there. Even if you disagree with me, come back to the rock. Base your belief and your relationship and your obedience and your love and your trust and your joy and your happiness, all on the rock, which is Yahusha. Okay? So thanks for watching, and stay in love with Yahusha HaMashiach. So long, Natsarim, beloved of Yahuwah.
Living water, Baruch haba Hashem Yahuwah. living water. Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. I sing out with praise to you. Your name is beautiful to me, my King. I sing out with praise to you. My heart desires to honor you, my Yah. I sing out with praise to you, Yahusha. Living Torah, Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. Yahusha, living Torah, Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. I sing out with praise to you. Your name is beautiful to me, my King. I sing out with praise to you. My heart desires to honor you, my Yah. I sing out with praise to you, Yahusha. Living Torah, Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. Yahusha, living water, Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. Yahusha, Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. I sing out with praise to you. Your name is beautiful to me, my King. I sing out with praise to you. My heart desires to honor you, my God. I sing out with praise to you, Yahusha. Living Torah, Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. Yahusha. Living Torah, Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. I sing out with praise to you. Your name is beautiful to me, my King. I sing out with praise to you. My heart desires to honor you, my God. I sing out with praise to you, Yahusha. Living Torah, Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. Yahusha, living water, Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah.